Representative Wilms of the 142nd, sir. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've had quite a discussion and debate here today, and I've been listening very carefully, and I just wanted I'll be proposing an amendment later on, but before I do, I wanted to just express my views and where I am on all of this. You know, I'm privileged to represent the city of Norwalk. We're the 6th largest city in Connecticut. We have 88,000 people. You know, candidly, as a Republican, there aren't too many Republicans that represent urban areas. I'm one of them. So certainly I have exposure to a wide, diverse group of people. I believe Norwalk is about 20% Hispanic at this point. And so through my travels throughout town and people I encounter and everything, certainly I've been exposed to a lot of diverse opinions and exposures. And it seems to me that what we're debating here is maybe competing truths or clashing truths or truths that perhaps don't intersect or perhaps collide with one another. Certainly, you know, on the one hand, we have the DACA students in terms of fairness. They are here in the United States. They didn't come here of their own accord. They were brought here. And they were brought here illegally by their parents or grandparents or whoever. And so their current illegal status is not their fault. And you know, here they are. Some of them are attending colleges, are public universities, which is in and of itself a laudable and positive thing. I think we want to encourage everyone to do that. And they're currently paying money, tuition, the same as everyone else, and it's going into a fund, but they're not eligible to receive the benefits of that. And so on that note, that strikes me as unfair. And also the fact that they are here illegally through no fault of their own, and they're subject then to the consequence of that also strikes me as unfair. And so I certainly can respect and sympathize with that. Unfortunately, the solution to this lies with our federal government, which hasn't done anything. And I did take heart to know earlier this year and last year that it appeared that our federal government did want to legitimize or legalize the status of these individuals, and I support that. I certainly don't think that these people should be deported. I think they should be given instead a pathway towards a legal status, whether it's a green card or whatever. But certainly that's the role of the federal government to do. And they haven't done that. And that's unfortunate, because if they had, we wouldn't be here today. But here we are. Having said that, I've also encountered another pillar of fairness, if you will. And in a way, it's my own family story. My mom and dad and my grandparents were all immigrants. But they came here legally. They followed the rules. They went through the proper procedures and channels, and they basically, you know, did everything that they were supposed to do. And you know, there's many other examples of that. We're a nation of immigrants, but we're a nation of legal immigrants. And there's certainly an important distinction between legal and illegal. And you know, every country has a right to defend their borders and establish that. And so I get that. And so a number of people I run into are saying, well, wait a minute, why are we giving a benefit to a group that's here illegally? And that's not fair when here we are, we followed all the rules, we did all the right things, and we're going to be hurt by that in some way. And candidly, they would if we were to allow the DACA students to have access to the pool of money for tuition assistance. That's a finite pool. And it seems to me that if there's a finite pool of money and some new folks come in, it means that the folks who are there are going to get less. It seems to be a bit of a win-lose type situation, which is, of course, unfortunate, but that's what we seem to be doing here. So what we have here are what I would describe as two pillars of fairness. You know, and are they reconcilable? I really don't know. I'm not sure. But certainly it's something that, again, as a Republican from the city of Norwalk, I encounter every day. And so I'm sympathetic to both of those views. So to get to the heart of the matter, in an attempt to maybe bridge this gap or an attempt to find some sort of a middle ground or middle solution, I don't believe the underlying bill SB4 achieves that. And so, Mr. Speaker, I believe the clerk is in possession of LCO number 4252. If I could, I would be allowed afterwards to summarize, and I would request a vote be taken by roll call.
Will the clerk please call LCO 4252, which will be designated House Amendment Schedule C?
LCO number 4252, designated House Amendment Schedule C and introduced by Representative Cummings, Wilms, and Lavielle.
The representative asks leave of the chamber to summarize the amendment. Is there objection to summarization? Is there objection? Hearing none, Representative Wilms, you may summarize the amendment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In short, this is a strike-all amendment to the underlying bill. Then the language that's reimposed mirrors the underlying bill with three notable exceptions. The first are lines 11, 12, 13. We've seen this before in a previous amendment, which is to expand the categories of to conform the guidelines, if you will, for eligibility to that of the federal guidelines. The second section is, and perhaps the most important part, are lines 35 through 38. And this proposal would be to have the colleges set up a separate account for the undocumented students. And so what they would do is they would continue to pay their tuition as they have been paying it, but instead of going into being commingled with the other citizen students or legalized status students, they would have a separate account set up where their monies would go, and then from that account, the monies could be dispersed to provide tuition assistance to those students. And the benefit of that would be to minimize the impact, if you will, on the current students who are receiving aid, since they would not be crowded out, if you will, in their pool. The final amendment, I can't find it. It's for the veterans. They would be given a special status in that even if they were undocumented, but because they were honorably discharged veterans, they would have access to either pool of funds. I do want to point out that there is no fiscal note attached with this. So based on that, Mr. Speaker, I urge adoption. I also request a vote by roll call.
Question before the chamber is adoption of House Amendment Schedule C. It has been asked for a roll call vote. All those in favor of a roll call vote signify by saying aye. Aye. I think the 20% has been met, so when the vote is taken, it'll be taken by roll. Will you remark further on the amendment, Representative Wilms?
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, just to summarize, as I mentioned before, I do believe that there are two levels or pillars of fairness here. One is in relation to the DACA students. Their circumstances were not ones that they signed up for or caused, and our federal government has failed to take action on their behalf, and I think our federal government should take action on their behalf, but that hasn't happened. So in a sense, they're prisoners of their own circumstances, and that's unfair. On the other hand, you have students who are receiving currently aid. They are citizens. They've done all the right things. They follow the rules. And if the bill without the amendment passes, they could be impacted negatively. And I also think that that's unfair. So again, the attempt to bridge that is through this separate account. And then there's the other language that I discussed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, sir.